So, I am co-creative director of Marshmallow Laser Feast. We are a small studio from London, but try to work remotely all around the world. And we are coming from this interesting background of making immersive experiences, starting from projection mappings, and then diving into kinetic sculptures, lasers, of course, and lights. So I'll show you some of the stuff we've been doing before VR happened. So, thank you. So what you are seeing there is mainly a selection of projects we did 5 years back, 4 years back, mainly combining quite cutting-edge technologies with tracking systems, camera systems, and try to immerse either user on the other end of the screen or within that space like these ones. So it's quite a big spectrum actually. It's difficult to what is the main theme of all those things is probably the immersive experience side. Other than that, everything is changing every time, apart from lasers. So, starting from there, it was kind of obvious for us to go into virtual reality, which we tried for a few commercial projects. So we tried to follow this model of get the money from clients and spend in art projects, and not bankrupt in between. So that's kind of the model, and luckily there are. Oh yeah, that's.
What a show! Unbelievable! Very clever.
It's Barney's father.
Amazing.
So we are trying to follow this model, try to get clients to pay for our R&D and then spend all that toolkit into our art projects, which I'm going to show you one of them that kind of falls into this theme that we are following for last 2 years and planning to follow another 2 years. What is the beyond? Well, what we can do beyond the limits of our senses. How we can make them visible, how we can make invisible visible. So, In the Eyes of the Animal was one of those projects which we tapped into something magical for us. So there is this little fact that average human being can see, can memorize or count up to 250 logos and brands, whereas they can't count more than 5 trees or plants. So, and I was one of them, absolutely, and it was mind-boggling because you go into forests and try to do something, and you realize you know nothing about it, but you can count every kind of GPU out there, any kind of computer and cameras. So that was kind of a beginning for us as a studio because we start thinking about nature, how we can put ourselves into other species' eyes, hearts, their senses. So this project commissioned by Ant Festival and Forestry Commission in the UK, they came with the idea of, okay, you've been doing immersive experiences. They have this beautiful forest up north in Grisdale, famous with its sculptures and installations. And they want us to do an immersive piece. And we start thinking about it. And the more we thought, we went to this place, which is quite magical, this interesting moss and the lakes and everything around that. So we thought, okay, how those species living here can see this world, how they are feeling, how they are navigating in this part of the world, which we have no idea. And this slide is kind of last one. So let me go to the film first. Then we come up with the idea of how it feels to see or sense through those animals. And we start talking to National History Museum, biologists and scientists from there to understand their process of sensing environment, navigating in those spaces. and found quite interesting stuff. Some of them are hypotheses, some of them are theories, some of them are real facts, and start kind of filtering those out to find a new visual vocabulary out of it, which is, for instance, mosquitoes can sense CO2 in the forest. So it's not really seeing, but we have to take it into human beings seeing. So we made a scene that you can sense CO2 in the forest in the nighttime that you are flying through the photosynthesis. Or an owl, for instance, this one. Owl has these conical eyeballs. Their peripheral vision is really bad, but central vision is super sharp. So, and also they can't move their eyeballs. Like they have to move their whole head. That's why they're a little weird. So, but we force the viewer to behave like an owl.
Very
And so,
Amazing.
You know that?
yeah.
Really good.
We-
And the sound with it as well.
So I'll go back to those ones again. So we took those facts and made different scenes. It's kind of a food chain that you are going through, starting as a mosquito that gets eaten by a dragonfly, that gets eaten by a frog, and then that gets eaten by an owl. That's the moment we ran out of budget and time. We're going to go up to human beings. And so it was a site-specific installation, as I mentioned briefly, in Grisdale. So you are walking in that forest, and you are coming across with those weird orbs floating in the forest, kind of hang of a big tree, and are kind of hidden invigilators taking you into journey. And the interesting thing, I mean, the previous projects you saw, it's mainly interactive stuff, lasers. It always had a specific target audience. We always had this moments of, right, we know our audience because they are coming there to see those things particularly. Whereas this one was the first time we had this 7 years old to 75 years old, which is quite fascinating. And it was the first time for us to kind of tap into this feeling, okay, what we can give to them can be so meaningful and also answer so many questions for a bigger audience. And seeing this 75 years old lovely lady coming, that was the best thing in my life. Like, wow, it's like, that's amazing. How else can you do that? So then obviously we didn't start that we are gonna tell all the stories. We start doing certain bits, and those things start happening, and we start looking back and, right, can do all those things. Therefore, maybe we continue in the same way. So then the whole team, the world beyond our senses came, and we are continuing try to do similar projects in that sense, which I'll come some of them. Yeah, so I'm going to mention briefly that we are still continuing going around the world, well, trying to scan the oldest and the biggest trees. This is sequoias, giant sequoias. They are 90 meters high, the biggest living thing ever existed, bigger than any kind of dinosaurs or anything. And they are still alive. And on the left, although we don't know which one is the oldest one, they are the oldest individual living trees, which is 5,065 years old, even before any kind of language was around. Well, some form of language. So when you touch those trees, you feel this, everything I know about history wasn't here, and you were here. Can you tell me a bit more about that? Can I dial into your time? And the new exploration is this: can we dial into tree time, and what can we give to viewers to make this connection that we lose every day in our lives? And can we shake the snow globe and the things that we already got numb to, can we remember? So I think this is the big question, and we are trying to find answers. Well, we obviously don't have a particular answer. I'm gonna be super quickly mention about the process, which we can come back in the Q&A. So the technology we were using to capture this forest with the highest fidelity called LiDAR scanning. It's kind of a laser sending beams, measuring the distance from that beams, and doing this for 100 million times a second, which is giving us super sub-millimeter accurate environment information. Then we start using this information and manipulating that data based on those scientific facts. Like this is a dragonfly scene. Dragonfly can see the whole spectrum of light. They see 100 frames per second, they see infrared, they see ultraviolet. So we try to find what is the full spectrum mean to human beings or seen to human beings. Therefore, we can just steer towards there and make a scene that can remind you this. It's not really scientifically correct, nor we are trying to do scientific visualizations. It's just taking that data, volumetric data, and converting to a form that you can use pretty much in any way. Well, I think I would like to go with the questions and answers because I've got some other slides, but it would be nice to hear that part. Yeah.